Institutionalizing Art. As far as we go back in history, there has been some form of institutionalizing of art, and in ancient times it has been, of course, commissioned, as you know, by rulers, and during the Renaissance by the church. In 1964, Arthur Dantor coined the word art world and offered institutional theory of art, which proposed that art could only be deemed if validated by an institution or an environment of art. So today, our definition of institution in art may encompass any established body that can serve to legitimize art, artists, and patronize them, including museums, galleries, private and public collections, government bodies, and art schools. I'll just start my questions. I'll just go alphabetically. Amin, can you just please tell us, how important are institutions like museums, galleries, and art schools in Pakistan, and what has been your experience in this?
Thank you very much, Ms. Naqvi, for having me on the panel. Let's take the case of Karachi today. We have a thriving art gallery scene in Karachi, and we have a thriving art educational scene in Pakistan, especially in Lahore. However, one thing that we truly lack in both cities is museum spaces. Museum spaces are incredibly important. They're incredibly important because art belongs to everybody, not only the elite. And anybody, I mean, this is your culture, this is your heritage, and it belongs to all. And it is a pity that in our great cities of Lahore and Karachi, who cares about Islamabad, we do not have museums. And it must be the case. There have to be museums for contemporary and modern art in this country. We've had this tremendous art scene, and we should celebrate it. We may not have oil, but we definitely do have culture.
Thank you. I just would like to ask Raina. I know that hi, can you hear me? That we work together with FOMA, and you have some experience. Before I go on to what is your impression of Pakistani museums and art, I know that we had some experience with FOMA, and I would like to add that what kind of a struggle there has been with an organization, with an institution, whereby we have a partnership with the DHA or with some other organizations, and it has been a struggle because we are very restricted, and as you know, we have struggled through. So just can you tell us what was your experience and how you exhibited over there in the FOMA program, the exhibitions that you had organized at FOMA?
A perfect question, which would enable me to speak 30 minutes at least. In a nutshell, the German consulate had a top issue. This is vocational training, and we invited a comic maker from Berlin to create a graphic novel with 5 students each from Indus Valley School of Arts, from Karachi University Fine Arts Department, and from Karachi School of Arts. As far as the institutional framework is concerned, we have mentioned now 3 good art schools, very important. So within 1 week we created that graphic novel with the German. And as we had the graphic novel and all the originals, we were looking for a place to exhibit the originals. And then our selection was made to make it at FOMA, and it was nice to cooperate with Fausia. And yeah, we had a nice exhibition, and the little problem was that some days prior to the exhibition there was a little rain, and suddenly FOMA looked like a swimming pool. And yeah, we can assume that FOMA, the gallery, was neglected, or that, I don't know, the rain came to the wrong time, but that's not the issue. The issue is that Amin, I know what he's constantly telling us is right in a way. You might need more museums, But after 2.5 years in Karachi and in Pakistan, I tell you, you have very good museums. Who has been to the Lahore Museum for the last time? This is perfect. It's grandiose. The same as in Peshawar. This is your cultural heritage. You can see it. And by the way, we Germans enjoy very much to support a little bit your spiritual uprising, as one of the previous speakers mentioned it. Look at that. This is a little brochure produced after the Germans have helped to refurbish a tomb in Makli. And now I come to my little conclusion of this intervention. If I ask young people, 25, 30 years old in Karachi, all well educated, all from top phase 5 families, and if I ask them about Makli and they don't know about Makli, then we have a little problem here. Then we can start institutionalizing art at the school time, where every Karachi school child should go out and see Makli for one-day excursion. This is a little problem. So people sometimes, I feel, they are not interested enough in their own culture. And Makli is your own culture. That's nothing but Muslim art, but still it is a little bit neglected. So the substance is there, but we should make it more popular, and we should transmit it better to our children, to the younger generation, and we keep what we have. The National Museum in Karachi is not bad. I mentioned Lahore. The NCA is next door. So that's a good setup. Use it better and make the youngsters to come to panels like that. Thanks.
I'm sorry to disagree with you, Mr. Counsel General. You really do not know about our museums. We do not have a museum of modernist art or of contemporary art in Pakistan. The museums you've suggested or you have mentioned deal in antiquities.
Tabinda, if I may ask you, that are art galleries and museums fulfilling the role that is required by artists and curators? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel that art galleries and museums are fulfilling their needs or fulfilling their... Would you say that... yeah, go ahead.
I don't really think they are, because so much more goes into fulfilling the art world. You know, our museums, I'm sorry to say, the Lahore Museum, yes, it's a beautiful venue. It's beautifully curated, and there's some wonderful artifacts there. But the Karachi Museum is in a very, very bad state. And unfortunately, that one museum that we have here, even that is not being looked after. I mean, go to some of the other, like Mohenjo-daro, or any, I mean, we just do not spend enough money, whether it is the government or whether it is private entrepreneurs. But I think we need to do much, much more than we do at the moment.
There's a problem with funding, and many of the organizations, they have government and private partnerships. But in the case of the Karachi Biennale, you did not have any government support. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you went through and how it was? I mean, this would be very interesting for everybody to know, because I will tell you one thing is that I'm comparing it to Lahore. Lahore got a lot of support from the government, from the Punjab government, because they have the resources, they have the money. So because they had so much, they were able to mobilize a lot more in Lahore. So, okay, so that is a matter of opinion. Okay, why don't we just, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I'll tell you exactly what made the Karachi Biennale work. Two people are right in front of me. One is Nahid Raza, the other one is R.M. Naeem. They were two of the 182 artists that we had for the Karachi Biennale. The reason why the Karachi Biennale worked was the generosity of people like these, Nahid Raza and R.M. Naeem, who stepped up and gave me support and went into their pockets and just were khulla about it. They opened their hearts out and gave us so much of their support. And we did not want to involve the government because we wanted freedom in Karachi. Complete, absolute artistic freedom.
Reena, can you just tell us a little bit about how the museums are run in Germany? I have seen in two cities. It is Düsseldorf and Cologne, but and there are so many museums. So, what is it that you know, or what was it that you can tell us? How is it that how do the museums sustain themselves in Germany?
That's another 15-minute question.
Okay.
We have some 7,000 museums in Germany. I think 6,500 normal museums and collections, and some 500 exhibition halls where everyone who can rent the exhibition hall can have his exhibition. And the whole budget for museums in Germany is 2 billion euros per year. I think it is some 3,000 crore rupees, a huge amount, but still it's only 10% of the state spending for culture. And regarding spending as such, we should know that culture belongs to the provinces, but still the federal level would give some money for outstanding projects, but it's the provinces and the cities which support and finance all the museums and all the cultural affairs.
Okay. And is there some involvement with banks? Because in the UK, they have a lottery. VNA, for example, has a lottery. They raise the money through lottery, or the banks pay a certain percentage, which is something that maybe we can enforce over here, a certain percentage for art and culture in the cities. And
no such system, but I think in Germany 90% of the sponsoring or the financing of the cultural affairs is coming from the state and 10% from private sources. Private museums, some sponsoring, some other activities where the private businessman would give money for cultural affairs. 90 state, 10 business. So I think no one would say that it's just no freedom in Germany in the art, even so the state is sponsoring 90% of the cultural affairs. That has to be regulated by good cultural managers. Thanks.
Tabinder, would you say that there's a lot of need for corporates and private sector to be also working towards setting up museums, and also how would you say that the private collectors, would they be able to give their collections? Would you give your collection to a museum in Pakistan or maybe in Karachi? I'm just curious.
Yes, I think I would, and I have. I've given some of my paintings to the Mohatta Palace, and that those were some Sadikans, and they really looked after them very well. I think and then another exhibition was taken to India, and that was Jameel Naqsh's. A lot depends on the museum or the people behind the scene who are going to be taking these works of art, and how much confidence you have in them. And I mean, even more than insuring the paintings, I think if you have enough confidence to give your paintings to them, I think definitely, yeah. And talking about the Biennale, the Karachi Biennale, it was held for the first time in Karachi, and I think it was a huge success, and a lot of us artists were behind this. And inshallah, this one too, the art festival, being the first time, it's on a smaller scale, but I'm sure if they carry on, it will also be a very successful.
Yeah, inshallah. So, do you think? Do you think institutionalizing of art can sometimes push certain agendas and have a sense of lobbying? Do you think that could be?
Absolutely, absolutely. But we're not even at that stage as yet. Like Mr. Consul General said, look at the thousands of museums that exist in Germany, and look at us. Look at us. And even compared to other third world countries, or the euphemism is developing countries, we don't compare. We just don't compare. So let it begin. Let it begin on any level. And let it grow. And hopefully more museums will happen which will cater to every which agenda there is. But as long as there is public works out there, places that people can go and see, and I'm talking about people at large, not like people like everybody, like people at large can just walk in. And that is a wonderful thing about doing the Biennale. People say that, oh, people are not interested. That is so wrong. When you put it out there, they do come and they do react. And you'd be surprised at how the people of Karachi do react to art. And I'm sure the people of Lahore would too. Let them have a chance.
Reena, this is one question for you. Do you think that does art need to step out of institutions at some point to be true to itself? Will it still be considered art without the backing of an institution? Is it legitimate, do you think?
Everything is legitimate if it is regarding art. But what does it mean, stepping out of institutions?
Not necessarily. It could be public art. It doesn't have to be a museum. I mean, it could be not necessarily gallery, but it could be public art. It could be other institutions.
10 times yes. And now I could speak long about German festivals, about art in streets, art in schools, art in stadiums, art wheresoever. But again, you Pakistanis are not that bad. Have you heard about truck art? I did. Just 2 Sundays ago, I went to one of these lorry building sites. Everywhere, Liari, Korangi, wheresoever, you have these big spaces where lorries are repaired and lorries are built. And in every one of these places you find some artists drawing the lorries and making that kind of truck art. I have some nice pieces at home, by the way. I will take that back to Germany and advertise. And who would know that the leading German Sunday newspaper has a full page today on Pakistani truck art? You might remember the journalist who came for the KLF. He went round with me, saw the truck artists. So this is something you could build on.
Okay. There was a very interesting talk yesterday by a stamp collector and Adil Salahuddin Saab, and his book was also published yesterday, and he contributed and he has donated his stamps to the State Bank Museum. And I would just like, have you seen the State Bank Museum? Yeah, and maybe that is what we need. We need the artists, and maybe there are artists who are getting older. Maybe they can also save this for posterity, save their paintings for posterity, and put them up at museums. What would you say?
Yes, no, I think you're absolutely right. It would be great if collectors gave. But just to talk about truck art, I have nothing against folk art and urban folk art, and truck art is really wonderful. It's fantastic. But it's folk art. I mean, in Pakistan, sir, we've had an incredible scene of modernism. My father was a modernist. And we have a contemporary scene in Pakistan. And that's what we're talking about. I'm so happy that the world is excited about truck art. But for me, let's get beyond truck art. Let's get beyond that. That's great. I'm so happy, the Europeans think it's very exotique. But, we've had this incredibly strong scene of modernism and contemporary in Pakistan. And I really do think that we do need museums to open up the collections to people at large.
I just beg to...
I would also beg to
add a little bit more to that. And truck art is folk art, but it's art, and it's from our country, and it's something so unique which is not seen in the rest of the world. And people all over Europe, America, the Far East, I mean, people just absolutely love the truck art that is produced here. And so any form of art is art, It can be contemporary art, it can be realistic, it can be truck art, it can be any type of art, and it should be accepted.
Perhaps a truck art museum eventually.
Yes, I think we could even do that because it's so akin to our country.
Yes, Reena?
Truck art museum, keyword. And Only you, Fauzia, are my witness. Fauzia, in preparation to that panel, she asked us to give a few lines on our personal relationship to art. And there are two magic sentences. The first sentence is, yes, Karachi needs a museum of modern art. It was written yesterday. So as Armin obviously perceives me a little bit as a devil's advocate, no, I fully agree. A museum of modern art would be a very good investment for Karachi, and the businessmen and the business community should be involved. Number one. And then traditional art. A second little statement in my written text was that I'm keeping my fingers crossed that developing countries, as a diplomat, I make it in a wider sense, that developing countries would not blindly follow certain tendencies in Western art. They should not forget their own art traditions. And that is, for instance, I have forgotten now the name of that miniature painter who still teaches at NCA. But there are very good traditions in Karachi, and these miniature paintings, for instance, this is something you should go on developing. It's taking place, I know, but please build on that and don't follow everything that is given as a role model from the West.
Okay. Thank you, Raina. Any activity, for that matter, is important because there's a change that's happening.